Hello, I'm John Paul and I'm here at Rimmer Brothers today working in partnership with ZF Gearboxes to change the gearbox oil and filter on this 2009 Jaguar XF. The gearbox made by ZF for Jaguar, specifically built for the Jaguar range of cars, because the Jaguar driver expects a large, comfortable car to drive around in with seamless gear change, but also the performance element as well. The gearbox has to cope with both of these things, so looking after it is absolutely vital. So the gearbox has to do a lot of work, but the oil has to do a lot more. So it's really, really important that the oil is changed regularly and in the correct manner. We're going to use a gearbox flushing cleaning machine today. The first thing we'll do is we'll get the car started, get up to running temperature, so we'll check the gearbox oil before we start to make sure it's at the correct level, and then we'll go on to the next level. Okay, we're just going to remove the under tray so we can gain access to the gearbox. There's two T25 torque screws at the front, and then there's some just 10mm nuts. There's two nuts here, two bolts here, and then two bolts at the rear. And just once they're all out, we can just drop the under tray and then we'll be able to see the gearbox, and then I can show you exactly where to check the oil level. And that's the under tray out of the way. Place that to one side and then we can see the gearbox, and this is the sump that we will be changing, and the gearbox oil level is just here. It's a little M8 Allen screw socket, and we'll take the Allen screw plug out, and then you just have something to catch the oil, because a little bit will drip out, but it won't come out too much. But if there's no oil comes out, we'll have to connect the machine and put some oil in so we can get the correct level before we do the gearbox exchange. As you can see, the oil dripping out now. That's saying that the oil level is correct in the gearbox. It's not gushing out, so it's not over full, but it's just dripping out, so it's at exactly the right level. So I've replaced the oil level plug now, because when we turn the engine off, the oil level in the sump will get higher, so you need to put the plug back in before you turn the engine off, and then we change the sump, because the oil then will just pour out all over the place. So that's the sump plug, the level plug back in. Quite a tight fit as well to get back in there. So now we're going to turn the car off and we're going to take the sump off, and then we'll show inside and show you the filter. I'm going to drain the oil out of the sump first, what we can get out. So you'll need an oil drainer underneath, 10mm Allen key to take out the sump plug. And once all the oil is drained out, we'll then take out the ringer bolts around the outside of the sump, and then we'll drop the sump. And we'll just drop it nice and carefully and try and catch as much oil as we can. It does get a little bit messy. And then we'll show you inside and see if there's anything in the gearbox that might give us concern. So just around the outside of the sump, you'll see there's a few wires connected on, so you just need to unclip those from the side of the sump. Just took them out of the way. Then I've taken nearly all the bolts out, and you'll just need a T40 Torx bit, and then just got the last couple of bolts to take out. And then I'll just lower the sump at the back first, so that any excess oil can drain out the sump hole rather than pouring all over our heads. So as that oil comes out, just hold it there, get the majority of it out. Then we'll be able to lower the sump without hopefully making too much mess, because it is quite a messy process. We'll wait for that oil to drain out, and then I'll remove the sump and I'll show you inside at the filter. So this is the sump pan off now, and you can see this whole square patch here, that is all the filter there. You can't take it out because it's fixed into the sump on these, which is why we fit a complete new sump. And here's the feed pipe into the gearbox. Now, you'll have noticed that when we've taken the sump down, the amount of oil that came out was probably only 3 or 4 litres, whereas this gearbox holds 10 litres for a dry fill. So that's the benefit of doing a gearbox flush rather than just a gearbox oil change, because if you drop the sump and replenish the amount of oil that you've taken out now, you'll only be changing 1/3 of the oil. So later on, when we show you how to use the gearbox machine, you'll see that it changes 99% of the oil. So it will change all 10 litres rather than just the 3 litres that you take when you change the sump. Another thing worth noting is Couple of little magnets in the most gearboxes in the filter housings, and this is just so if any little bits and bobs come off the inside of the gearbox, little bits of metal, it catches them on the magnets rather than puts them back through the gearbox. You're always going to get a few little bits from the inside that just come off, but if there's any major bits, any big bits of metal on there, obviously then that indicate there's something that's going wrong inside the gearbox. Here we have the new sump with the new filter built in. So we need to just remove the cap from the oil pickup pipe. And then when you're fitting before you fit the new sump pan, you need to make sure that the surface on the bottom of the gearbox is nice and clean. And when you're fitting it, make sure that the oil pickup pipe goes into the hole in the front of the gearbox there. It'll just take a little bit of resistance to go in because it's got to get past the seal. Then so we just fit that up there. If I can just come around here, see what I'm doing, and then you'll just feel the pickup pipe. That's it, the O-ring's gone in now. And then we're using the new bolts, just go around, fit one to hold it in place, then fit them all loosely. And then when you tighten them up, don't just tighten them up, you know, like that. Tighten a couple at the front, couple at the back, couple at the sides, and then just work your way around nice and slowly. And they want to be torqued down to 25 Newton meters. So the sump is back on now. We're all torqued up. Our wire and connections are all back clipped to the bottom of the sump. So now what we need to do is connect our machine to the car. Now to do this, the easiest way to do on this particular car is to go through the oil cooler, which is a little bit awkward. So we'll jack it up in a second. We'll take off the left-hand front wheel, and I'll show you the oil cooler inside the inner wing. It's fairly difficult to get to, but I think that's the easiest option. From then, we'll replenish the oil that we've took out by draining taking the sump off. We'll run it up again, we'll recheck the oil level, make sure it's okay, and then we'll do the gearbox flush exchange. So this is the oil cooler for the automatic transmission. So the cooling pipe is this one here, and there's one at the other end as well. And then at the other end as well, there's an oil pipe, and our oil pipe that I need to get off is this one behind here. So it's directly behind the water pipe. Quite difficult to get to, and it's quite difficult to see. So I need to push the two clips in, lift that pipe off, and then I'll be able to connect my machine to those two pipes. As you can see here, this is the original pipe from the car that goes into the oil cooler. So I've disconnected that from the oil cooler, then I've connected our machine in series, so the oil is going to pump in to the pipe there, all the way around the system and out the outlet pipe, which is the other pipe here, and back to our machine. So all we've done is connected the machine in series with the whole automatic transmission system, and that will give us the ability to replenish the oil that we've taken out when we took the sump off, and then once we've rechecked the level in the gearbox, we'll then do the exchange all through these pipes. I've filled up the machine with the new oil. It just goes in this little hatch here. And then what I'm going to do now is just set the machine to set 3 litres to pump into the gearbox now. So it replenishes the oil we took out when we did the sump. So once it's put its 3 litres back into the car, we'll then start the engine up again, get it up to normal temperature, recheck the level on the gearbox, and then once the level's okay, we'll then do the full flush. Okay, so while the car's getting warm, I'm just going to add a flushing agent. So I'll put half a litre of flushing agent through the machine into the transmission system, and that just helps get rid of all the sludge before we do the oil exchange. So I'm just going to recheck the oil level now before we do the flush to make sure that the oil level's correct in the gearbox before we do the exchange. Now it's quite difficult on these where the level plug is really close to the transmission tunnel, so it's ever so difficult to get the plug out and then get it back in again. But so we'll just remove the plug, and yeah, we've got a few little drops coming out there now, so I'll just replace the plug, and then we'll go on and carry on with the gearbox flush. Just to get this plug back in, sometimes I put a smaller Allen key in the centre so I can centre it up to get it started, because it's very difficult to get the plug in. So yeah, so once that's back in, we'll let the car down, and then we'll carry on with doing the gearbox flush. So now we've checked the gearbox oil level, which is okay. We've put in the flushing agent, and now what we do, if we press enter, the machine will then go on to ask us to jump in the car and run through the gears. So go from park to reverse, neutral, drive and sport, and keep doing that on and off for 10 minutes. That gets the oil up to temperature, it gets the flushing agent all the way around the gearbox, and then after the 10 minutes it will carry on with the exchange. So we've now gone through our 10-minute cycle of working through all the gears. So now what we're going to do is the exchange. This is the 6-speed auto, so it holds 10.5 litres for a dry fill, so we'll exchange 10.5 litres, then you know it's done the whole amount of oil. So direct import, we'll put the value in, which is 10.5, press enter, and then it will do the exchange. And you'll see on these two glass bars here, you'll see the new oil and the old oil change colour. So you'll see the new oil going in nice and clean, the dirty oil coming out, which is really dirty, and then you'll see the tank. So the new tank will go down, the old one will go up. You see the new oil going in now, nice and clean, and the dirty oil coming out is quite dirty. So we'll just let that do its work. It'll take just a few minutes. So once that's all done, we'll come back and finish the job. So the exchange is complete now. You can see there's little left in the new and a lot left in the old. So now that's the exchange done. What I will do now is I'm just going to add half a litre of oil extra, just to take out. So when I take the pipes off to the machine, you do lose a little bit. So I'll just add a half a litre, replace the pipes onto the oil cooler. I'll then go underneath, recheck the oil level, and then put the under tray back on, and then that's it. The gearbox flush is all done. We mentioned when we took the sump off about the two magnets that are in there, just to collect the normal debris that's just created by the gearbox itself. So you can just see, if I just try to wipe some bits off there, you can just see the amount of debris that's on there, and that's absolutely normal. What you don't want to see on there is any big bits of metal or anything that's obviously shouldn't be there. But just this little amount on there is absolutely normal. I'm just going to have a final recheck of the oil level. I've got the car running. I've still got the machine connected at the moment, so if we do need any more, we can easily pop it in. Just pull out the sump plug. Yeah, so that's the level plug. There's not any coming out at the moment, so I'm just going to put another half a litre in, and then we'll recheck the oil again. So we've just added that extra half a litre. Now you can see the oil's just coming out of the level plug. So it's now time to refit the new level plug. The new level plug comes with a kit from ZF Aftermarket. So once that plug's fitted, we'll then have a quick clean up, put the under tray back on, take it for a road test, and then the new gearbox oil in there will be like a brand new car. Here you can see a sample of the new oil, and here's the old oil that we're taking out of this ZF gearbox. But you can see it's well worthwhile doing, getting it booked in somewhere and getting it changed using the ZF aftermarket products that are just absolutely superb. And driving the car afterwards, you definitely will notice the difference. Smoother gear change, and yeah, it's definitely well worth doing.